Grip strength has been proposed as a biomarker, and hundreds of studies of thousands of people have shown a link between grip strength to overall strength, upper limb function, bone mineral density, fractures, falls, malnutrition, cognitive impairment, depression, sleep problems, diabetes, multimorbidity, and quality of life.
It's a few good factors to have that are correlated to grip strength.
Why is that? Ty, what if I told you that your grip strength directly correlates with how early you're going to die? Would you believe me if I said that?
I probably
if you didn't think I was leading you somewhere, would you believe me?
I'd probably have some follow-up questions. Like if we were just like sitting having lunch or something like that and you told me that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, Ben.
Yeah. Pretty unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to explain in today's episode why that's the case and why that's true. But before I get there, we do want to thank our partners for today's episode, number one, and the number one place to go when you're stressed, when life's got you down, when you're feeling like it's too much. There's one place to go, and that's Choctaw Casino Resort. And like Tyler likes to say, it's just a quick drive up 75 if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But summer's coming, Tyler.
Summer is coming.
Hopefully you've been paying attention to our new Wednesday episodes, which are these, and you've been summer shredding and getting ready because summer is coming. The resort-style pool, this is the second year it'll be open. Now it's up and going. They've worked out all the kinks.
Yeah,
first full summer. And it's coming. It's coming fast. So Choctaw Casino Resort, like we said, resort-style pool. Every restaurant you can think of or want to eat is there. 3,000 slot machines. I mean, the whole night. Resort-style hotel rooms.
Yep, 400 new rooms in addition.
And again, the second full summer that those have been opened.
That's right. And it's incredible. And you're going to catch us up there quite a bit this summer and fall. So just stay tuned. Come meet us up there. Come hang out. But go on the website. Check out the schedule. I mean, the world-class concerts. If anybody thinks about coming to Dallas, typically Choctaw's up there. And actually, last week, Choctaw just sponsored the Club Core Classic, which is one of the stops on the PGA Tour. And it was a pro-am, and they asked your boy to actually play.
How'd you play?
Oh, terrible. It was awful.
Okay.
It was super windy.
What'd you shoot?
I have every excuse in the book. But
So you didn't take extreme ownership right there that we talked about.
Oh, no.
It was super windy.
So I told you the excuse, and then I told you that it would not have affected my game.
Gotcha. But you want to throw that excuse out there just in case I'd bite.
Just a little bit.
Just in case.
Like, totally. Wins the worst.
You're covering all your bases.
But on the celebrity side, local.
There were some big names out there.
Yeah, there was. There really was. Larry the Cable Guy.
That's why I was shocked whenever they said you were playing. Whenever you said you were playing.
Yeah, well, so I played in the baby celebrity. They only let me play Wednesday. Just Wednesday.
Okay.
But, I mean, Tony Romo ended up tying for first.
Wow.
I mean, you had some big name guys. Can't remember the guy's name. Do you know it, David?
It was a riveting tournament.
Yeah, it was. Actually, because we were with him Friday night for a charity event, and he came out of Friday in the lead. I was really nervous about Saturday because he had an early tee time.
Oh, yeah.
But ended up, I guess, holding on, and he played well. Adam Thielen played really well. I think he was a top 10 finisher. I mean, there's a ton of guys that came and played, and it was supposedly a great time. But Choctaw was a lead sponsor for that.
That's awesome.
And they were on the 17th hole. Man, they had a killer setup. So it was really cool. So one thing that Choctaw really does a great job of is just getting involved in the community. They're around. They're always doing great things. So again, support them by the quick drive up 75. Go have a blast. Listen to good music. Play some games. Stay. Relax. Get away. It is a decision that you will not regret.
That's right. And then our second partner we want to thank is, of course, Sleep Number. And we couldn't think of along with Choctaw, we couldn't think of a more fitting partnership than that of Sleep Number. The thing they're doing with their sleep science, the technology in their beds. We say it all the time. It's no longer your grandma's mattress. This thing is high tech.
Yep.
It's the Tesla of mattresses.
Yep.
So go get yourself a Sleep Number. Try it out for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Go try it out for yourself. They're everywhere. In fact, I was back in my hometown of Abilene a few weeks ago, and I thought they were too small, but they have a sleep number. So even the great folks of Abilene are getting better sleep. That's right. That's right. We're on the map, baby.
Wow.
Like I said, they're everywhere, or of course you can go online just like everything else. So get yourself to a sleep number. Check out their awesome technology. But back to the topic at hand. And if you're just joining us for the first time, this Wednesday episode is really geared towards improving your physical body. You know, we talk a lot about mental performance, but your physical body's got to be ready to perform as well. And so that's what this Wednesday episode is guided towards, is how we can improve. You know, for the longest time, I was in the fitness industry, and I always thought I wanted to work with athletes. And then I switched to the corporate world, and I realized just how much we all, just as people in general, non-athletes, I say non-athletes, people that aren't getting paid to perform day to day, how much help we really need, I dare say how clueless most people really are. So that's why we added these Wednesday episodes. And today's topic is something that people overlook. Yeah. You know our friend Knees Over Toes guy. So he always claims, if you listen to his content, he always claims there is not a human being in the world that's done more sled pushes or sled pulls than him in the last 5 years. I would argue there's not a human being in the world that's done more loaded carries, which is our topic today, than I have the last 5 years. I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying that. When's the last time you did loaded carries?
I've done it 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But is it a routine part of your?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe you have. Maybe you're giving me a run for my money.
Yeah. Now I'm not saying it hasn't been. There was probably 4 years from playing, because it was a really big part of while I was playing. It was a real big part of it. But in the last year, I've picked it back up. It's been a really big part of what I do.
Well, we're going to talk about today why, but literally the last 10 years of my life, it's 3 to 4 days a week. I'm doing some variation.
You're not going to catch me sleeping,
That's
man.
right. That's right. So if you're wondering what in the world is a loaded carry, because this isn't necessarily, I mean, again, we've started to go more towards fitness, but our typical listener, maybe you're not familiar with what a loaded carry is. A loaded carry in the gym is basically if you grab a couple of the dumbbells, a barbell or a sandbag, and you carry it a certain distance. That would be a loaded carry. In real life, think about carrying your groceries into the house.
Yep.
Think about pushing the wheelbarrow. Barrow. Is it wheelbarrow or barrow?
Barrow.
Barrow. Wheelbarrow. Fact check me on that. Whatever it is.
I'm going to
pushing
right now.
the wheelbarrow when you're doing your gardening. Or carrying a box up to the attic, something like that. That would be a loaded carry. And this is an often overlooked exercise that you can implement into your program. Mm-hmm. A lot of people go into the gym, either they think of cardio or they think of bodybuilding is a typical approach, unless you're in the CrossFit. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the CrossFit, you're probably a little bit more into fitness than just your average. Again, I worked more in the corporate gym setting, and there was nobody doing CrossFit in there. The treadmills were packed every single time.
Ellipticals loaded.
Right. Or the machines, like the ab machines.
Cable machines.
Or leg extensions. Those were full, right? Not many people in the gym were doing loaded carries. And it's so interesting to me because think about picking up your kids. Think about carrying your groceries. Yeah. A lot of things we do in life involve picking up something heavy and transporting it to another location. In fact, human beings, we're unique in that we have opposable thumbs, right? We can pick up things and move them. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it's something that's often overlooked, and I want to talk about today why you should start incorporating those. Assuming that you do go to the gym and you do like fitness, why you should start incorporating them. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't, this is a great entry-level exercise because it doesn't take a lot of skill. It doesn't take a lot of thought. You just pick something up and you walk with it. Yeah. You really can't screw it up. And we're going to talk about that at the end. But 5 benefits of loaded carries. Number 1, creates the ability for your body to, quote unquote, fire as one unit, increasing overall strength. So much of the initial strength gains, I think if you think back to your early, when did you start lifting weights?
Freshman year.
Your freshman in high school?
Freshman in high school,
okay.
Yep.
So your freshman year in high school, you were what, 150 pounds, 180 pounds?
170 pounds, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now, this may not be the best example because you can put on a lot of weight that young, but a lot of your strength gains early on, if you notice your bench, squat, deadlift, whatever you were lifting, probably shot up pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you didn't probably gain 30 pounds in 2 weeks, obviously.
No.
Right?
No.
The initial bump in strength is actually your central nervous system getting better at recruiting your muscles. So it's not necessarily you're packing on all this muscle. It's that your central nervous system is getting more efficient at firing, calling on more muscle fibers to be able to lift that weight. That's why, like I said, maybe you're bench pressing 100 pounds when you first start, and 2 months later you're bench pressing 150.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't just all of a sudden add 30 pounds of muscle,
Yeah.
more than likely. What more than likely happened is you got better, more efficient at that work. So to display strength, the CNS, your central nervous system, must recruit and coordinate muscle fiber activation. The more efficiently it can do this, the more strength can be displayed. So basically, the more efficient your central nervous system is, the stronger output you can put. If you're trying to deadlift 400 pounds, a more efficient central nervous system is going to be able to lift that than a less efficient.
Yeah.
Somebody who's practiced the reps over and over. So a loaded carry helps your body get used to working together as a unit. Your hands, your grip has to be strong. Your core strength has to be strong. Your hips have to be strong. Everything has to work together to be able to move that load from point A to point B. It's not like a bicep curl where your biceps have to be really strong and nothing else really matters.
Right.
Everything has to be firing together.
Yeah.
So that's number one. It helps recruit more and make your central nervous system more efficient.
Yeah.
Number two, better core stability, like I just said, preventing future injuries. So your quote-unquote core, this is basically the area, anything but your limbs can be considered your core. And this core of yours has two main functions: to create and transfer power, and also to resist movement, aka create stability. So if you think about your core, rotational exercises, that's something that your core is involved in. It's transferring power from one area to another. Or quite opposite, if you're getting resistance, your core stabilizes and keeps your spine from moving all around.
Yeah, so for you younger athletes, maybe high school age, and if it's something that you're wanting to jump higher or run faster, core stability is one of the main components of that. So if you ever work with like a sprinting coach, or if you ever work with someone that's very in tune with speed training, core is one of the most important things that you can do, because when you are stable throughout the core, what it allows for, it's the equivalent of like jumping off of like a floor of Jell-O or jumping off of a floor that's solid. Your core acts as the foundation to push off of. If you're not strong within your core and there's movement, you don't have that foundation to drive off of.
Yep.
And so that was one thing that like actually made, because speed was not my strength. And I've always felt like I had a strong core until I started working with a speed coach my second year in the NFL. And specifically, and we did more core than we actually did running, just because, and it was a female sprinter. And one of the things she was saying is, she's like, listen, like you don't have anything to push against because you're not strong enough either in your core. And so same with jumping. If you're strong within that core, so think shoulders through your hips, if you are strong, then you have that that launch pad essentially to push off of. Mm-hmm. And then again, now if you're not an athlete and you're in your 50s, or you're a mom, or you're something, and you're like, what do I need that for? Well, again, there's so many things that this helps you with, and we'll talk more about it. But having that core strong is imperative to overall health. It avoids injury, but it also allows you to be more efficient in all of these movements.
Yep. Yeah, the first thing a lot of people think when they think of core strength, they think somebody has a six-pack of abs.
Yeah, I know.
They think, oh, they must have a strong core.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. And that's what loaded carries. They help you transfer that energy, help you resist movement through your core and again, we'll talk specifically what a loaded carry looks like and what type of exercises you can do. But that's what a loaded carry can be. And like Tyler said, if I'm a 50-year-old, why does this matter to me? Well, don't you pick up your Amazon and shipment boxes off the porch?
Yeah.
A strong core is going to keep you from getting injured. Don't you pick up your grandkids or your kids? Yep. A strong core is going to keep you from getting injured there.
That's right.
So that's number 2, better core stability. Number 3, and this is what we teased the episode with, it increases your grip strength. Why is that important? Grip strength has been proposed as a biomarker, and hundreds of studies of thousands of people have shown a link between grip strength to overall strength, upper limb function, bone mineral density, fractures, falls, malnutrition, cognitive impairment, depression, sleep problems, diabetes, multimorbidity, and quality of life.
It's a few good factors to have that are correlated to grip strength.
Why is that? Yeah. So grip strength is an indicator of overall bone density. Oh. And overall bone density is tied to many of those things that I just listed off. Think about malnutrition.
Yep.
If you're not properly if you don't have the proper nutrition, it's likely your bone's not going to be as dense.
Right.
And the way that you can test that is by testing somebody's grip strength. So literally your grip strength can be an indicator of all those factors that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. And a loaded carry can improve that grip strength, can improve your bone density, assuming you're taking care of those other things as well.
That's right. So I just literally had this conversation yesterday in the car with my 8-year-old son. One thing that my dad taught me very, very early is the importance of a strong handshake. Making sure. Now, I love my dad, but sometimes he take it over the top. And my buddies used to always say, dude, your dad just crushed my hand, like every single time, like every time. Yeah. But one of the things is, and he's playing flag football right now, and he's probably like 60% catch rate. And so he's struggling. Now he just broke his wrist, so that has something to do with it. But like, he doesn't have the strong like grip, the strong hands. Like you shake hands with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, Adrian Peterson notoriously
I've heard
crushes. Shaking his hand a couple times, and the stories are true.
Yeah.
Like absolutely crushes it. But like being able to catch a ball, being able to like the hand, there's so many benefits to having that grip strength. And I was telling my son, and so I literally just ordered him some forearm, like there's some grip strength things that I just ordered him, and then I ordered him one of those the roll-ups work when you're working, a weight hangs and you roll up a rope on a bar. So I just ordered those for him, and I said, because he's at the point where he's asking questions like, well, hey, how come I'm not getting the ball thrown to me, or how come he's this, or how come he's that? I was like, all right, well, here's a couple things, because I'm not trying to push it on him. I'm not saying, hey, you're not doing this, and you're not doing that, and your hands are weak. But even too, like part of it is you can tell when someone is really healthy by the way they shake your hand.
Absolutely.
Like, and when I shake his hand, I'm like, all right, bud, we've got to have it. And I'll be like, all right, squeeze, look me in the eye, and squeeze my hand. And there's an area for improvement for him. And honestly, like I was telling him, I was like, hey, bud, like this is going to translate across the board for you. Like if you can have stronger, now it's not so hard for you to carry things. Like it's not so hard for you to pick things up. Like between grip and core strength, like we just talked about 2 of these things. If you have 2 of those things, your overall functionality is going to highly improve.
Yep.
Even without like formal weight training.
Right.
Like those 2 things will improve your life overall.
Yeah, you want to start a kid on the right path?
Yeah.
For instance, your son?
Yeah.
Make him carry a couple of heavy buckets.
Yeah.
You guys got 4 acres. Make them carry a couple heavy buckets across the pasture.
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
The back 40.
But you talk about, the wrist roll.
Yeah.
Those are great things, squeezing things.
Yeah.
But imagine if your 8-year-old son's able to pick up a 25-pound bucket in each hand and carry it a long distance. Not only is his core strength going to improve, his wrist strength, grip strength, all that's going to improve.
That's right.
And it's not a complicated movement. You're not going to get hurt more than likely by doing that.
Right.
And just imagine that's a great foundation to set your 8-year-old up with.
And these are things that are not going to set, there's all this controversy over, when do you start training your kids? When do they start lifting? When do they start doing? Look, there's so much development going on with young kids. One thing that is absolutely safe is what you're talking about.
Yep.
Look, work on core, work on grip strength. Like those are things that like you can do that's not going to affect his growth plates, not going to affect and not going to injure him. Those are two things that are going to translate to athleticism.
Yep. And by the way, whether you're an 8-year-old wanting to get introduced to weight training or you're a 50-year-old who's never lifted in your life, but you do want to get into it, this is a great introductory basic exercise. Again, it's not easy, but it is basic in that it doesn't take a lot of thought. It doesn't take a lot of complication. You just pick something up and you carry it. There's not much more to it than that, but it just has so many different benefits like we're talking about, and leads to benefit number 4. And this is again for the older population, but it could be applied to your 8-year-old as well, is increased coordination and motor control. So with advanced age comes a decline in sensory motor control and functioning. These declines in fine motor control, gait, and balance affect the ability of older adults to perform activities of daily living and maintain their independence. Gait and balance problems are of particular interest as falls are a major source of injury and morbidity in older adults. 20 to 30% of older adults who fall suffer moderate to severe injuries that limit mobility and reduce quality of life. Basically, it's not to be extreme, but it's almost a death sentence the older you get if you fall and you fracture your hip. The incidence of people who just go downhill from that stage, and I'm sure as a listener, I'm sure you know somebody or you know of somebody that this happened to. They fall, they break their hip because their bones are not quite as strong as they could be. And then it ends up they just go downhill.
Then they're bedridden, and then it just,
leads
compounds
to early death. So what a loaded carry does, let's just say, for instance, the example of carrying 2 heavy buckets. You've got a heavy bucket in each hand. You're having, every time you step, you're really only on one foot at a time. You're not on both feet while you're walking. So every time you step, that hip with the foot on the ground has to stabilize your entire body. Your core has to stabilize your entire body. Falls happen to older people because of a lack of coordination, a lack of control, a lack of strength, if you will. So they're not able to Dr. Galpin, we had him on a few months ago. He talked about this. One of the tests, one of the things for older people, training-wise, is foot reaction drills. Being able to catch yourself if you stumble. That is such a huge differentiator as you get older. The ability to catch yourself. And that's what a loaded carry can teach you, is that stabilization as you're only on one foot into the other.
And we're talking foot stabilization, ankle stabilization, knee stabilization, all the way up into the hip. And then even
through the trunk,
through the core. So
it literally, like we said earlier, one of the first things, the central nervous system has to call on your entire body to do this correctly. And so again, whether you're somebody young trying to be more athletic or you're somebody older trying to prevent, lack of movement in your older age, this is a great drill. And then lastly, number 5, and this one's overlooked, but grab 2 heavy weights and walk with it, the increased cardiovascular component.
So
you think of cardio, like I said, most people think, 99% of people think of running, think of getting on a treadmill.
Bike,
Grab 2 heavy objects, walk 30 yards and back, and see what your heart rate does.
Like literally walk. I remember, and this was one thing, because I've always done like farmers carries and stuff like that. And it was last summer, we did a front rack walk. So it's when you've got a barbell and you put it up like a front squat, like up on your shoulders. And it was pretty heavy. And we did an 800-meter walk with that. I've never, walking 800 meters, I thought I was going to throw up. Like it was like the craziest deal. But again, core was on fire, legs were on fire, shoulders were on fire, like everything was on fire. And you don't have to do it that way. But here's the other one that would be interesting is if you do get a semi-heavyweight, and again, not a weight that's going to hurt you, but do one side. Carry it like a kettlebell on one side, because then what you're going to have to do, and you want to talk about your core firing, watch how much the opposite side of your core from where you're carrying the weight, how much that just lights up.
Yes.
So, and that's one thing is you can either carry it at your hip, you can carry it in a rack position, which is up by your shoulder, like you put it up, and if you're watching it's up, carrying it up high. I mean, there's multiple ways that you can do it, But if you're alternating sides, then it's going to hyper concentrate because you don't have the balance.
Yep. And that's what I want to get into next. So recapping the 5 benefits. Number 1, creates the ability for your body to fire as one unit, which increases overall strength. Number 2, better core stability, which prevents future injuries. Number 3, increased grip strength. Number 4, increased coordination and motor control. And number 5, increased cardiovascular health. And just as Tyler alluded to, okay, we've convinced you. It's important. You want to start doing this, but you've never done it before. Where do I start? What's the most basic way to get into this? Because you can get fairly complicated. Like you talked about the front rack position, 800 meters. That is very complicated for somebody who's never done this before.
Yes.
So how do you dip your toe in the water? How do you get started first? The 2 most basic ones that you can start with, one of them is called a farmer's carry. That's basically, think about carrying your groceries in the house. You've got a weight in each hand that's of the same weight, if possible. So again, you can go to Lowe's and buy you those big 5-gallon paint buckets, fill it with 25 pounds of sand each, pick one up in each hand, and walk 30 yards and back.
And that may be even too heavy.
So
here, one way to do it is everybody's got a duffel bag or everybody's got a suitcase that's got a handle. Anything with a handle.
That's right.
And then find a weight that is like it doesn't feel like it's heavy when you just pick it up. But then go for a distance and see how that feels. Start there. Because 35 pounds, I mean, sand is probably more. Sand is heavier.
And the good thing about buckets or suitcase or whatever is you can easily put that down, and it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right. Exactly.
So I would, just from experience, I would challenge you to push it a little further than you think.
Yeah.
Not crazy where you can't even walk 5 feet. But like Tyler said, when you pick it up, this is not so bad. But when you start walking, that's what you're going to realize.
Yes,
but I would challenge you to say that you can do more than you think.
That's right.
So a 10 pound in each side, yes, from the standpoint of safety, that's going to be fine. But is it going to give you the full? I would say, and again, if you've never done this before, start with that. See what happens.
All level, but I mean, it's all levels, right? So like my dad just started working out and he worked out a little bit in the fall, but really hasn't worked out for 30 plus years. And it's like, okay, hey, look, you need to scale it, get that movement and feeling down, start lighter and then add, like you said, because once you start and I get the movement, I feel it, I feel comfortable with it, and then continue to add onto it to that point where it's more than you think. But just obviously be safe with it, scale it down to something that's appropriate for where you're at in your experience or your strength. Because let's just say you haven't worked out in 30 plus years, like try not to throw 100 pounds on each side, right? And hurt yourself. But at the same time, like Ben's saying, is you can do more. Even if it's like, all right, I fill them up with sand. I've got 60 pounds of sand in each hand. All right, now I'm walking, even if I can only go 15 feet until it's just on fire and I can't hold it.
Set it down.
Great, set it down. Take a breath, pick it back up and go. So again, just be conscious on the very front end of it, scale it to whatever your ability is, but you should be able to pick it up, but it's when you start to walk that it shouldn't take long before you're like, okay, this is a lot.
Set this down. Yeah. So there's a free version, like Tyler said, taking a couple of suitcases, putting some books in there. That's free, right? Everybody's got suitcases. You can spend a little bit of money. Like I said, go to Lowe's, get you 5-pound or 5-gallon paint bucket and some sand. Or if you really want to go all in, there's actually companies that they call them farmer carries, I guess. I have a version of these. Titan Fitness makes the version that I have. And they're literally 2, for lack of a better term, barbell type.
That are built for it. It's got like a big handle and you can throw weights on it.
So that's a little bit more. Maybe start with the basic stuff first if you're just getting
the other ones that are good are kettlebells, because kettlebells are good because they have a little bit bigger grip. So what's nice about those is kettlebells, and they're easy and they're solid, but it doesn't allow you to really fully wrap your hand all the way around it, which then really increases the focus on grip strength as well.
And the other good thing about kettlebells is the center of mass is below your hand, below your knuckles. It's a little easier to hold. Dumbbells are tougher because now the center of mass is on either side of your hand. So dumbbells are fine. Grab those.
They're great.
But it's going to challenge, which is a good thing. It's going to challenge your grip a little bit more than a kettlebell. So kettlebells, very again, basic.
Yeah.
Dumbbells are probably a little bit more advanced. And then again, these farmer carry actual
No joke.
bars that they make are even more advanced. So anyway, those are good ways. And then another basic one is carrying a box.
Yeah.
Grab a box, throw some books in it, pick it up, walk.
Yep.
That's as basic as it gets.
Yeah.
Why is it basic? Because number one, your center of mass is right there around your hip where your center of mass is, or the weight is. So that makes it much easier. And it's both sides are working together.
Yeah. We talked about that front rack position. That's a much more advanced position. But to start on that is you can go to Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's, you can get a bag of play sand. It's like $4.99. Get a bag of sand. Throw it in the back of your car, whatever. But picking up and hold it like a baby, holding it up, trying to get your elbows up as high as you can and walk with that. That's it. That will tear you up.
Yes. That is a great introduction to the barbell.
Yeah.
And trying to get it up underneath your chin. That's a great one. More intermediate exercises, the suitcase carry. You mentioned that. So now instead of grabbing one in each hand, just grab one of them.
Yep.
And like Tyler said, you're going to feel the other side, how hard it's going to have to work.
Yep.
So that's another good one. That's more intermediate. And then advanced would be like what Tyler's talking about, taking a barbell, putting it on your shoulders. Some people take barbells and push it over their head.
Yep.
You can have one kettlebell up by your chin, one kettlebell by your hip. You can have one kettlebell over your head, one kettlebell by your hip. You can have one kettlebell over your head, one kettlebell by your... There's so many. That's the great thing about loaded carries. There's really there's no wrong way to do it.
You can
number
always
one.
do something different.
You can't screw it up, and it can always be different.
That's right.
Sled pushes and sled pulls are technically
Loaded carries.
a version of loaded carries as well. So it's such a you can't get bored with it because there's so many different ways to do it. Now be mindful, again, if you're just starting, start with the basics first.
Yeah.
Then work your way up as you get more comfortable with it.
That's right.
I tell most people, or I have most people, 3 to 5 sets. And a set would be pick up the 2 buckets, walk 30 yards and back. That's one set. Do that 3 times.
Yep.
I usually say 20 to 30 yards down and back, something like that. Again, these are just, you can't screw it up.
Yeah.
But these are just basic general guidelines.
Yep.
So do that 3 to 5 times, 20 to 30 yards back, down and back, and just see what that does for you. See the improvements that's gonna yield. Again, I can't talk highly enough about this exercise that not a lot of people do and overlook, but it just translates to so many good things in your day-to-day life.
Just think about, you're that person now, you've got to move furniture. You have someone come over and help you move furniture. And now you're the one that is not breathing hard, that is not hurting, that is not struggling.
Yep. I wasn't saying
you look like a savage.
I was gonna say all these are great benefits, but that is the one downside is now your friends are going to ask you to help them move more. And we all know how much that sucks to have to help friends move, so.
Just don't own a truck and you'll be fine.
So anyway, hope that was helpful to you guys. Hopefully that's something you can apply. Again, that's something anybody listening to this can go out today and start with today.
That's right.
Right? No matter what your fitness level is, no matter how old or young you are, anybody can do a loaded carry, at least the most basic version.
That's right.
Which is what we call a farmer's carry. So it's a great introduction to weight training. It's a great for physical and mental development. It's just I can't speak highly enough
Think
about
about how
loaded
many
carries.
trips from taking your groceries in from your car to the kitchen this is going to save you.
If you take more than one, you're doing it wrong. It's a sense of pride when you get it all in one.
100%.
When you get it all in one goal. So
100%.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. If you would, please share these episodes. If you got something out of it today, maybe you laughed a little bit, maybe you learned something, text to a friend, text to a group chat, post it on your Instagram. Help us spread the word. We appreciate you guys so much. Have a great rest of the day, and we will check you tomorrow.
Hey, make sure to send this to your friends with the dead fish handshake.
All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.